So why is the cost of your pint continuing to soar? Well, it is. The British Pub and a bit of a pub association say that the average price of a pint in the UK is going to climb above £5 for the first time in April. That's not news, of course, for people living in the south and southeast, where the prices have been above average for a long, long time. But the key thing is that pubs are under huge cost pressure. First of all, the minimum wage is going up for adult workers to £12.21 per hour. That's going to add to labour costs. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, announced an increase in employers' national insurance, a rise of 1.25%, allied to a cut in the threshold at which that tax is paid. Business rates, well, the relief offered to the pub sector is due to be cut from 70% to 40% this year. And then we factor in other costs. The price of energy goes up. Energy price cap continues to rise by 6%. Water bills due to rise as well. It's no mystery that the price of a pint is going up when costs are increasing so much. And of course, the result is that the long-term decline in the number of pubs open in the UK is likely to continue. At the turn of the century, there were nearly 61,000 open pubs in the UK. By 2023, that had fallen to 45,000. That figure has fallen even more since. So here's the data showing the price. This is up to the end of 2023, so things have got worse since. But you can see from 2012, the retail price of a pint of ale in the UK has risen from £2.80 to £3.93. The price of lager, draft lager in the UK, we didn't do some of the calculations during the lockdown, hence the gap. But you can see that the steep increase in the price of lager from about £3.40 10 years ago, climbing, and it will rise above £5 when the new data comes out. This is the kind of structure of pub ownership in the UK in 2023. Stonegate, I think they own Slug and Lettuce, if memory serves, Green King, Michelin Butlers, all the way down to Wetherspoons and Fullers and so on and so forth. So the key thing is that there is structural change happening in the industry. Businesses that can't remain profitable tend to shut down. That's the nature of economics. And that leads to structural alterations in the pub sector. First of all, a shift towards chains, national chains, that can absorb costs much better than smaller independents. Secondly, and you'll see this, fewer pubs in rural or lower income areas. And thirdly, higher prices potentially for consumers if the monopoly power of existing chains goes up. So as the industry becomes more concentrated in the hands of these big pubcos, that gives them more monopoly power. That said, of course, they do face a lot of competition, in particular from cheaper alcohol sold in supermarkets. For those who are doing economics, let's just quickly revise the shutdown point. Shutdown point is the idea that a firm either temporarily stops production because it can't cover its variable costs, even if it ignores its fixed costs, or it decides to shut down completely. It's not about making zero profit, it's about not being able to break even on day-to-day operations. In other words, you don't generate enough revenue to pay the wages, to pay the electricity bill, to pay the beer suppliers, and so on and so forth. So formally, in economics, the shutdown point happens when price is less than average variable cost in the short run. So at least you've got to cover your short run costs, your variable costs at least. If the price the firm can charge drops below AVC, then it loses money on every additional unit sold. In fact, it would be better off shutting down, maybe closing a few pubs, closing a few outlets in the short run. So here's the diagram showing the shutdown point. Now in this situation, the profit maximising price is P1, the average cost is AC1. So the firm is making a loss, but it is covering its variable costs. So the loss would be lower if they decided to shut down. If you shut down, you lose your fixed costs. So that firm is above the shutdown point, whereas in this situation, I've drawn costs as higher, demand, let's go back a slide, there you go, so demand's down and costs are up, and the balance has tilted the other way. At Q1, the price they can charge, P1, is well below average cost, AC, and also below average variable cost. So the losses of producing would be much bigger than if they temporarily shut down production. The key thing here is that many businesses are now facing this choice. Can we afford to carry on producing if we cannot even cover our variable costs in the short run? So think about that, please. maybe draw that diagram if you're in the pub having a pint. The cost of a pint is soaring. Cost pressures are enormous in this sector, and my expectation is that there will be, well, potentially hundreds of thousands of job losses in the next 6 to 9 months, and that's not good news.